If we speak for God, must we be willing to stand boldly alone in the face of opposition? Are we really alone? Let's look at Elijah's loneliness in 1 Kings 18. What did Ahab assign to Obadiah because of the famine in the land? Now it happened after many days that the word of Yahweh came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, Go show yourself to Ahab, and I'll send rain on the face of the earth. So Elijah went to show himself to Ahab. Now the famine was severe in Samaria, and Ahab called Obadiah, who was over the household. Now Obadiah feared Yahweh greatly, and it happened that when Jezebel was cutting down the prophets of Yahweh, Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50s in a cave, and sustained them with bread and water. Then Ahab said to Obadiah, Go through the land to all the springs of water, and to all the valleys. Perhaps we'll find grass and keep the horses and mules alive, and not have to cut down some of the cattle. So they divided the land between them to pass through it. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. What happened that troubled Obadiah when he met Elijah on the way? Now as Obadiah was on the way, behold, Elijah met him, and he recognized him and fell on his face and said, Is it you, Elijah, my master? And he said to him, It's I. Go, say to your master, Behold, Elijah's here. But he said, What sin have I committed, that you're handing your servant over to Ahab to put me to death? As surely as the Lord your God lives, there's no nation or kingdom to which my master has not sent word to search for you. And whenever they say he's not here, he makes the kingdom or nation swear that they could not find you. Yet now you're saying, Go say to your master, Behold, Elijah's here? Did the meeting between Ahab and Elijah finally take place, despite Obadiah's fears? I don't know where the Spirit of the Lord may carry you when I leave you. If I go and tell Ahab and he doesn't find you, he'll kill me. Yet I, your servant, have worshipped the Lord since my youth. Haven't you heard, my Lord, what I did while Jezebel was killing the prophets of the Lord? I hid 100 of the Lord's prophets in 2 caves, 50 in each, and supplied them with food and water. And now you tell me to go to my master and say, Elijah's here? He'll kill me. Elijah said, As the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, I'll surely present myself to Ahab today. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. Rather than cower in fear, did Elijah confront Ahab with boldness. Then it happened, when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said to him, Is that you, O troubler of Israel? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but you and your father's house have, in that you've forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and have followed the Baals. Now therefore send and gather all Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal, and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table. What foolish exhibition did the prophets of Baal put on at the top of Mount Carmel? So Ahab summoned all the people of Israel and the prophets to Mount Carmel. Then Elijah stood in front of them and said, How much longer will you waver, hobbling between 2 opinions? If the Lord's God, follow him. But if Baal is God, then follow him. But the people were completely silent. Then Elijah said to them, I'm the only prophet of the Lord who's left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now bring 2 bulls. The prophets of Baal may choose whichever one they wish, and cut it into pieces and lay it on the wood of their altar, but without setting fire to it. I'll prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood on the altar, but not set fire to it. Then call on the name of your God, and I'll call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by setting fire to the wood is the true God. And all the people agreed. Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, You go first, for there are many of you. Choose one of the bulls, and prepare it and call on the name of your God. But don't set fire to the wood. So they prepared one of the bulls and placed it on the altar. Then they called on the name of Baal, from morning until noontime, shouting, "O Baal, answer us." But there was no reply of any kind. Then they danced, hobbling around the altar they'd made. About noontime, Elijah began mocking them. "You'll have to shout louder," he scoffed, "for surely he's a god. Perhaps he's daydreaming, or is relieving himself, or maybe he's away on a trip, or is asleep and needs to be wakened." So they shouted louder, and following their normal custom, they cut themselves with knives and swords until the blood gushed out. They raved all afternoon until the time of the evening sacrifice, but still there was no sound, no reply, no response. What magnificent display did God perform to expose how useless Baal worship was? Elijah said to all the people, "Come near to me." And all the people came near to him. He repaired Yahweh's altar that had been thrown down. Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom Yahweh's word came, saying, "Israel shall be your name." With the stones he built an altar in Yahweh's name. He made a trench around the altar, large enough to contain 2 seahs of seed. He put the wood in order, and cut the bull in pieces, and laid it on the wood. He said, "Fill 4 jars with water, and pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood." He said, "Do it a second time," and they did it the second time. He said, "Do it a third time," and they did it the third time. So water ran around the altar, and he also filled the trench with water. At the time of the evening offering, Elijah the prophet came near and said, "Yahweh, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Israel, let it be known today that you're God in Israel, and that I'm your servant, and that I've done all these things at your word. Hear me, Yahweh, hear me, that this people may know that you, Yahweh, are God, and that you have turned their heart back again." Then Yahweh's fire fell and consumed the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces. They said, "Yahweh, he is God. Yahweh, he is God." Elijah said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Don't let one of them escape." They seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and killed them there. Did God then end the drought, or did he test the faith of Elijah yet a little more? Elijah then said to Ahab, "Get up, celebrate with food and drink, because I hear the sound of a rainstorm coming." So Ahab got up to celebrate with food and drink, but Elijah went up to the top of Mount Carmel. He bowed down to the ground and put his face between his knees. He said to his assistant, "Please get up and look toward the sea." So the assistant did so. He said, "I don't see anything." 7 times Elijah said, "Do it again." The 7th time the assistant said, "I see a small cloud the size of a human hand coming up from the sea." Elijah said, "Go and tell Ahab, pull yourself together, go down the mountain, and don't let the rain hold you back." After a little while the sky became dark with clouds, and a wind came up with a huge rainstorm. Ahab was already riding on his way to Jezreel, but the Lord's power strengthened Elijah. He gathered up his clothes and ran in front of Ahab until he came to Jezreel. When we're abandoned because of our boldness to preach Christ, are we really alone? What did Jesus say? The time will come and is already here when all of you will be scattered. Each of you will go back home and leave me by myself, but the Father will be with me, and I won't be alone. If we speak for God, must we be willing to stand boldly alone in the face of opposition? Are we really alone? You decide.